know I'm going to like them. I already know I'm going to see them, or at least be entertained by them. Same with Ready Player One. I read that book. That movie looks very different than what I imagined in my head, but still looks fantastic. One movie I was surprised about was Jigsaw. Maybe not an amazing movie that everybody loves or everybody, runs to the box office to see. But I loved Saw 1. I love Saw 2. The other ones were there. They got very...
I remember Saw 3 was okay. Like, they all went steadily down.
Yeah, they just got convoluted, and they wanted it to be more gory, and they always had to have a shocking ending, and they had to live up for the first one and the second one, which had amazing shocking endings. And it was just like, hey, now we're expecting it, so it's not as cool. And so when them coming out with this movie, Jigsaw, which is 10 years after the first 5 came out, or 6, I believe.
8?
8?
I thought there was 8.
There might be 8.
8 was like the final chapter.
Regardless, they have another... They're like... They get to wipe the slate clean. Now, I know they're picking up in the same universe, and there's this like, well, this Jigsaw, this still has the DNA, and it could be the original John Kramer. Like, it's probably not. He totally is probably not it. But I just think it's cool that they get to wipe the slate clean, and we might be able to see some really cool... unique tortured things. I'm not a torture guy, but I really like the unique puzzles and the intricacies of the endings, and I just think that's really cool. So I was really, out of all the movies, I was surprised by that one because I was expecting the other ones. There is an Infinity War trailer that they did show. It's not easily accessible, but I know, like, my boss has seen it. I've seen small pictures, and some of that stuff looks really cool, and a lot of the changes that you can see. So I think that one I really, really, really am excited to see is the new Infinity Wars trailer. So
this Saw coming out will be 8. There were 7 before. So
there were 7. So yeah, it's
so
just like a reboot. Yeah.
Cool. I think those were sort of the big standout things from Comic-Con for me. I don't think there was anything TV related that was huge. I know there was a big focus on this new Netflix show, The Defenders, which brings together Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist.
They did do a whole, because they talked about Jessica Jones 2 is next, then Daredevil 3, and then they also mentioned they also signed Iron Fist for another season.
Surprising, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, they got to keep the Defenders going. You can't just be like, well, we're not going to do that or anything, what I mean? So I think they're bringing that into fruition, all of them, but there's 4 of them together, which will be kind of... I think
the Punisher's going to be in it, too.
They've already shown clips of him, and they said that he's... they've said they showed, like, 30 seconds, or, like, 2 minutes, and in that 2 minutes, he killed 4 people.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like, he's already, like, going hardcore. He's got his armor and the skull. That's what my boss said. So I think that's really, really cool. The other thing... oh, shoot. Now I forget. Sorry.
It's all right. So I think that was sort of the biggest news coming out of it. I don't have a lot to cover from a comic book perspective. I know we don't touch on comic books a ton, and obviously that is the point of Comic-Con. It just seems to be, it flourished and elevated a bit, obviously, in the last 10, 20 years by being a stage for studios to reveal big movie and TV projects that are related to comics and stuff like that. But I do want to mention there's some really, really cool stuff going on right now in the comic books. I just kind of want to brief you guys on what's going on. I might start doing this a little bit more on the show in case we have comic book listeners. But in the Batman comics right now, there's a really cool story arc going on called the War of Riddles and Jokes. And it's a war between, obviously, the Riddler and the Joker, and it's based a year after Batman Year One. So he's a really young Batman, and this is the first time that he's been exposed to the Joker, and the second time that he's been exposed to the Riddler. And it's this really cool story arc that I just started reading. And I'll sort of update you guys as I continue on it, but cool story so far.
For someone who doesn't read comics a lot, how often do comics come out these days? Just like one a month, one a week?
One a month. It changes based on the series. Typically, a standard comic book cycle though is a monthly comic, and then every year they'll do an annual, which is a larger comic that does or does not have to do with the story, and typically it's a standalone story to try to get new readers on and stuff like that too.
It's like graphic novels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll release the volumes, so they'll do 6 or 7 episodes or 6 or 7 issues of a comic, and then they'll release the trade paperback, they call it, and so it'll have everything sort of combined into one.
And at Comic-Con, going back a little bit, I heard Walking Dead, the guy said, the creator of it said there's going to be an actual ending to the series.
The series is actually wrapping up for Walking Dead, which is crazy. I mean, that has been going on for so much longer before the show. I think they were, oh geez, I'm going to butcher this, but I want to say that they were already like 50 issues into the book when they started the show, and so the show followed the book pretty well for the first 5 seasons, and then sort of in the 6th season and on, I think they've gone their own way with major characters coming in, much like Game of Thrones. They followed the books somewhat and then sort of went their own way. So I think that kind of wraps it up for our comic book, or our Comic-Con rather, recap. There was something else that I think we did just want to talk about, because I think it sort of affected all of us in a way. We all have a memory about Linkin Park. And we wanted to just touch on Chester Bennington's suicide. Wyatt, I'll let you start this topic.
Yeah. So I believe, what was it, last week? Last Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday? I don't remember. But yeah, Chester Bennington was found hung at 9 a.m., and which is pretty sad because it's presumed a suicide. Chester Bennington has been dealing with drug abuse growing up. He was also physically abused, and he has a very terrible depression. He's got 6 kids, and he was best friends with Chris Cornell. And the day that Chester died was his 53rd birthday of Chris Cornell. So it was a really, really tough thing for me. Really, why it hit. The funny thing is, the day that he died, I got probably. I can't even tell you how many people texted me or called me about that, because while I'm not huge into Linkin Park's music nowadays because it's drastically changed since Hybrid Theory and Meteora, but that was the first 2 CDs I owned, and every day I walked home from school, I listened to that CD from the first song, and by the time the last song played, I was at my house. And so that Chester Bennington and his music got me into the heavy metal that I listen to nowadays. And if you've heard me previously say on the show that I think music is the most important invention that humankind has ever made, and whether you like country, rap, rock, new metal, or something, opera, if you love music, I think then this, regardless of whether you like Chester Bennington or Linkin Park, I think this is such a big deal. Same with Chris Cornell earlier was such a big deal, shout out to him and his family, and I'm sure they just released an album. So if you do like their music,
this past year, right?
Released it back in May.
Support them.
And so I always recommend supporting your bands that you like, supporting them. And if you like rock music, but you also like pop music, you're probably going to be into at least some of their songs.
Because they also just released the Off Their New CD, this one music video that was very like in tune to having like depression and having like people that talk about you and how to deal with that and how you can't deal with that. But going back to their previous CDs and stuff like that, the lyrics are super, super dark. Like I don't know if you've really even really paid attention to it at all. But the lyrics for like Linkin Park in general are just really dark. But you wouldn't like guess that from the upbeat vibe you get from like
the actual people. Yeah, if you watch interviews of Chester Bennington, he's like an actual like energetic kind of guy, and kind of goofy and nerdy. And it's really cool to see him get really into creating music. So when they created the newest album, there's entire clips of them making the songs, which is really cool to watch them create it. And those of you who actually like Linkin Park, or like, I'm sure you've heard of Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and Minutes to Midnight. But honestly, their best CD they ever made is a CD called Reanimation.
Oh, yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, it's so good, yeah.
One of my hands down best CDs I've ever owned. And what they do is they take a good chunk of all the songs from Hybrid Theory Meteora and remix them with other rap artists.
Oh, is that like where Encore came from?
Yeah. No. That's with Jay-Z.
That's a separate...
This one has new music called like December, or music you probably remember, like December Midnight or Midnight to December. My December, thank you. But they have done a lot of their old song. Their biggest song, One Step Closer, they can completely redid it. It's more like a slower song. I have like 12 different versions of that song.
Sounds cool.
And so every time you see them live, they do their music slightly differently. And if you haven't seen them live in Texas, or the audio from live in Texas, or the video of them live in Texas back in 2000, 6, would you say? Yeah, absolutely one of the most fantastic concerts you'll ever see if you ever watched Linkin Park. But that, I'm glad you listened to that.
Reanimation, man. I was listening to the day that I heard that. I was like, shit. And I was like, I'm going to go listen to that the entire day. And it's an awesome CD.
Awesome, and a lot of my memories are cruising around in Wyatt's car, listening to Linkin Park too, and I always really enjoyed their music. I've never really been a hard rock guy, but I always really enjoyed Linkin Park. Reminded me of high school a lot too, so I was really bummed to hear about that. And I just quick plug, and know this is a more serious topic for our show than we typically cover. But if you're struggling, make sure that you're aware that there is a national suicide prevention lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. If you're struggling or you just need somebody to talk to, make sure to reach out to those guys. It's a very, very sad thing, and nothing but love from our show to their family. And as these guys mentioned, they have a new album. Go out, buy that, support them, and go back through some of the catalog and enjoy the awesome life and talent that was Chester Bennington. So
I want to go back and listen to that now.
Mm-hmm. Reanimation, I would definitely recommend that.
Hands down, their best album. Hands down.
Did you hear about the other stuff that was happening with that though? Like, so I guess somebody hacked Chester's
I saw
wife's
that.
Twitter.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Really
That's how we were talking about last week about social media. This is one negative thing about social media.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah. Gross. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit lighter fare. It's now time for topics on our show, so I hope each one of the guys, and remember, as a reminder, this is the new format of the show. Each of the guys are going to bring a topic here to the show for us to discuss for no set amount of time. We're just going to sort of break it down and then move on to the next. If you have a topic, suggestion for us, make sure that you reach out to us at geeks, that's GEEKS, at HOTYB.co. Let us know how we're doing. We just want to hear from you. If you're just writing to tell us you love us, which one of us you think has the cutest, we're fine with that.
Cutest voice?
Yeah, who's got the cutest voice?
Who sounds like The Rock?
Why'd you look at me?
Who sounds the most like The Rock? I don't know, because I think you got a cute voice.
You looked at me for The Rock, too, so I'll take that.
No, Wyatt looks the most like The Rock.
Yeah,
For those of you who
Rock.
don't... Why don't we describe ourselves to our listeners, just in case you don't know
Well, they can
what we
just
look
look on
like.
the website.
Well, we're on the website.
Who's that on again?
So you want to start describing yourself first?
Yeah, I'll start. So I want you to picture sort of
Margot
like,
Robbie.
Why don't we
No.
just describe each other?
I mean,
Well, you guys describe me.
I wouldn't mind that.
You guys describe me.
Describe Brogan.
For our listeners.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Chiseled.
Imagine
Jason Statham chin.
No, like a pit bull, but turn it around.
Like Pitbull, hey, dale, like Pitbull, the
singer?
The singer.
Not the
turn
ass
him
of a-
around?
Not the ass of a dog.
I thought you meant like the butt of a dog.
I was going there, but he seemed really excited about being
Mr.
looking like
Worldwide.
Pitbull.
Let's go to Wyatt and imagine if Hillary Duff was a dude with
With
you know
a
what I mean?
beard.
With a beard.
That's me.
That's pretty much
Wyatt.
it.
You talked about your first CDs. The Hillary Duff CDs were some of my first CDs.
What?
No.
Oh, that's pretty awesome, man. Okay.
Well, he knows back there.
All right, let's describe Buddy, guys, to our listeners. What does Buddy look like?
Tim
That's
goes,
a
never
whole
met
nother
that.
thing. That's
Buddy
maybe a whole
is
episode.
4'2", and
He's a leprechaun.
and he's nothing but muscle. 4'2".
He's like a
nothing but
boulder.
muscle. Yep.
A boulder.
Honestly, here, guys, if you listen to our show before and you've heard Buddy talk, imagine that voice in your head, and you got it. You nailed it. No joke. You nailed it. Hands
true.
down, nailed it.
Yeah, that's right. And then Blev, I like sort of like a Sean Connery, sort of
Sean
like
Connery?
you've got like this sort of like rough, sort of like exterior, but like a heart of gold. You know
Minus
what I mean?
the
Like-
accent.
Like
Minus
you're
the
tough,
accent,
like
yeah.
a mercenary looking type. You know what I mean? That's sort of what I see.
I'm just a
Wait,
big
how
old-
come I got Hillary Duff and he got Sean
we got
Connery?
Hillary Duff as a dude.
Because Hillary Duff was cool.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. You hear that? That's Buddy. You close your eyes and you heard that? That's Buddy.
All right. So now that you guys know what we look like, it's time to move on to topics. Who wants to go first
I'll go
today?
first.
Blev.
So, imagine you're sitting down, about to pop in a video, or stream it live on your TV, and your girlfriend's like, wait. We gotta watch a chick flick. And you're like, God, okay, why do we have to watch a chick flick? But then then you're like, okay, let's watch Beauty and the Beast then. I can take that a little bit. It's gotta be a chick flick, but she's like, no, that's not a chick flick. And you're like, wait a minute. That's definitely a chick flick. The audience is probably 85% women that are seeing this in theaters. Not a lot of dudes are seeing this, maybe, but I don't know. So what would you qualify as a chick flick, as a movie?
Question: is this a hypothetical?
No, I'm just saying in general.
Because this is an actual